State legislation typically appears as a collection of independent bills, each floating without context or a clear relationship to the next. The Connecticut 2026 framework operates differently. These bills function as interlocking modules of a specific technical architecture. Analyzing these mandates as a system integration project reveals a scope that is often lost in standard policy debate. This architectural blueprint consists of a 5-layer data architecture, building from basic definitions up to systemic control. By tracking the movement of data from the bottom foundation to the peak, we can see how the state translates raw information into automated governance. This framework demonstrates that modern legislation is now building a machine for public administration, rather than simply drafting new laws. An automated architecture requires strictly defined input parameters before the system can function. The first tier, defined data, is established by Senate Bill 4. This bill expands the legal parameters of what the state identifies as personal and sensitive information. Crucially, Senate Bill 4 also establishes the legal permission to use this defined data for profiling and automated decision-making. Above the definitions sits the pipeline infrastructure. This is Step 2, Connect Data, powered by Senate Bills 311 and 6. These bills mandate the creation of DataLink CT. DataLink CT combines massive datasets across education, the workforce, and social services, removing the silos that previously kept agency information separate. At this stage, the system has defined and linked massive amounts of public data, but it remains inert without a mechanism to activate it. Analyzing the connection between these bills often overlooks a practical requirement: the bridge between digital integration and physical implementation. Without physical infrastructure and funding, linked data exists on a server, but it cannot influence the real world. Step 3. Build system capacity, acts as the bridge. This layer is enabled by Senate Bill 298 and Public Act 26-1. This layer provides the funding and the mandate for direct IT system integration. It also establishes the data warehouse provisions and operational support systems necessary for the system to function. This capacity layer is what activates behavioral and program-level data use across the state. For example, the framework uses this capacity to implement school-based mental health infrastructure. Step 3 is the system's true operational engine. It translates theoretical data integration into fully funded public services. In Step 4, the system begins generating actionable outputs, with data flowing from the infrastructure layer and branching outward into specific streams. This is the use data phase, where structured data is applied to algorithmic funding and service allocation. The primary logic governing these allocations is based on classification models. These classification models are applied to municipal planning and land use, as seen on this state map. The system dictates developable land frameworks, categorizing regions according to the data. It also mandates adaptive use, such as the automated rezoning pathways for converting warehouses into housing via House Bill 5505. The data architecture now governs the physical landscape, from zoning maps to the allocation of state resources. The final layer, Step 5, introduces control rules. This feedback loop cycles back down to the foundation, allowing the system to modify its own parameters. House Bill 5554 and Senate Bill 450 establish this mechanism, allowing the rules and standards of the system to change over time. This administrative updating occurs outside the full legislative process, operating with reduced traditional oversight. To understand the speed of this transition, we have to look at how the critical middle layer was authorized. Public Act 26-1, the operational engine of the system, passed through emergency certification. This allowed for the rapid implementation of system-level infrastructure while bypassing standard legislative review phases. The collective function of the Connecticut 2026 framework is the creation of a closed-loop system. It defines and pipelines raw data from every corner of the state's administrative systems. It creates the capacity to apply that data to automated decisions in education, housing, and land development. These bills function together as a self-updating data governance engine, operating with minimal ongoing oversight.